Hi, and welcome back to a new semester of Sports Scene. I'm Marissa Rio.
I'm Marissa Russ.
I'm Will Camardella.
And I'm Daniel Palmore. Today is National Signing Day, a very important day in the college football offseason as schools across the country receive commitments from the class of 2023. Let's hear what Lincoln Riley had to say about building the program.
This is still so bottom level for what this program can be, and I think that's the genuine excitement that you feel in our halls and with our current team and with our future guys out there, that this could be the start of something really, really special. And you better jump on or watch us go by.
The Trojans secured the commitment of Folsom High School tight end Walker Lyons, who will join the Trojans in fall 2024 after he completes his LDS mission. USC's other class of 2023 commitments include five-star quarterback Malachi Nelson of Los Alamitos High and five-star wide receiver Zachariah Branch of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. USC's offense will still remain the team's top strength in what should be Heisman winner Caleb Williams' final season with USC. The Trojans signed a lot of great players on both sides of the ball. Who are you guys most looking forward to seeing take the field next fall?
Well, the signing day is a very important day, obviously, for the program. And Lincoln Riley, in statements today and statements in the past, talked about just really securing the long-term future of the program. And this is a long-term day, right? You get a five-star quarterback in Malachi Nelson, who you're going to expect to be Caleb Williams' heir apparent. Zachariah Branch, five-star receiver, who you're going to add to that already very skilled receiving core. Obviously, we're not going to see this tight end Lyons until 2024, but it's all for the long-term program. This team is going to have weapons for years and years to come.
Yeah, I'm most excited for Malachi Nelson. I think he has obviously a lot to live up to with Caleb winning the Heisman and everything, but I think Caleb is a good leader, and I think he'll be a great mentor to Malachi. And we all know the way the professional game is shaping out to be, and the way at collegiate level, the quarterback is so essential. And I just think I have faith in Malachi, and I think he'll do great.
I agree. I'm excited to see Malachi come in. I'm just really excited to see the defense this year because we definitely needed better defensive players this season coming in, especially because our offense was already so well this last season. We just need a good defense.
I'm probably looking forward to seeing Zachariah Branch the most. I'm an offense guy, and our offense was already crazy good last season, and I think he's just going to be another weapon that defenses are going to have so much trouble stopping next season. And I think he and Caleb Williams will definitely develop some great chemistry as well.
I am definitely in agreement that defense needs to be a priority. Yes, Caleb Williams won a Heisman. Yes, this offense was explosive last year. Why didn't they go to the college football playoff? Because they couldn't tackle, they couldn't stop anybody, and it really exposed them in that last Utah game. And so this four-star linebacker they got, Tackett Curtis, Lincoln Riley raved about him, and that's a really important position, linebacker. Why? Because you're tackling in the second level. You need to make sure those 7-8 yard gains don't turn into 80 yards and the referee doing this. So that's going to be very, very important. You need to improve in the transfer portal. You need to improve through recruiting. It's absolutely essential that this defense gets turned around this offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Tom Brady announced his retirement from the NFL this morning, and this time he says it's for good. The announcement comes 1 year after his first retirement. The quarterback has been around the league since the turn of the century. TB12 is the only QB in NFL history to win a Super Bowl in 3 different decades. In just his second season with the Patriots, Brady led his team to a Super Bowl victory. 2 years later, he was back again. Year after year, football fans expected a Tom Brady Super Bowl. Brady's the oldest MVP at age 40 and the oldest Super Bowl MVP after defeating the Chiefs in 2021 at 43. To many, Brady is retiring as the undisputed GOAT. He has 7 Super Bowl titles and 5 Super Bowl MVPs in a career that spanned 23 years. He ranks number 4 in the most seasons played and has the most wins of any player in NFL. So is this the right time for Brady to retire? Should he have played longer, or should he have just stuck with his first retirement?
Common sense says the right time to retire probably would have been like half a decade ago. But hey, I mean, he's been able to make it work. To win a Super Bowl last year, it might honestly be the most impressive feat of his entire career. I mean, you know, in this sort of greatest of all time conversation, rings are going to be paramount for obvious reasons. And Patrick Mahomes, the next generational quarterback to come up, had an opportunity to get his second very early in his career. And amazingly, it's Tom Brady who prevented him from doing that. He's the greatest winner this sport has ever seen. Therefore, he is the greatest player this sport has ever seen.
I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm a Patrick Mahomes loyalist, so I won't lie. That last Super Bowl really hurt, but you know, I think it's hard for an athlete of his caliber to retire on top. You know, that's always the dream, and he could have done it last year, but I think last year obviously would have been better for him to retire, but you know, just a great career. You can't say enough about him.
I'm honestly pretty surprised that he ended up retiring after this season, because it was pretty much a disaster from start to finish, both on and off the field, as we all know. And the Buccaneers this year were not a very good team. They got first place in the worst division in football, and he stunk it up against the Cowboys in the wild card round. So I thought he would have come back for another season and try to go to maybe the 49ers or the Raiders to try and prove to go out on a good note. But at the same time, I do think it was the right time to retire, because it was just, we've seen him play for so long, and it looked like this year he was actually done, like he couldn't go any further. Me personally, if I was Tom Brady, I think the best time to retire would have been after that Super Bowl victory against the Chiefs. You go to Tampa Bay after accomplishing all you have in New England. You go to Tampa Bay, bring them a Super Bowl, retire on top. That's what I would have done.
You know, if this question was posed to me last year, I would have been like, yeah, Tom Brady needs to retire, but I don't understand why he's retiring this year. He wants one more ring, and I thought 49ers was a really good fit for him, being that Trey Lance is hurt and Brock Purdy is hurt, and they're going to most likely trade Jimmy Garoppolo, so the 49ers would need a new quarterback, and I think that would have set him up for that ring that he really wants. So I think he should have just played one more year, but I guess we have to wait 40 days first, I guess, to see if this is actually real.
Yeah, take all of this with a grain of salt, because I believe we had the same conversation last year, if I'm not wrong. But at the end of the day, it's just such a tough judgment to make when you're doing things that no player has ever done at this late in age as Tom Brady. He won a Super Bowl last year, which defies all laws of like how long you should be able to play in the National Football League. So look, can we say now he should have had the discipline to get out at the time? Yeah, we can probably say that now. But again, Brady has done nothing but prove people wrong about what he can do and when he can do it his entire career. It's hard to get that discipline and really know he's done. And now when in a season where he was kind of distracted, where I think the Tampa Bay coaching change really hurt him, going from Arians to Bowles, I think he can just look at it and say now, you know what, it didn't work out for me, it's time to go.
And Will, I definitely see your point there, because last season when they lost to the Rams in the divisional round, Tom Brady still looked really good. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers still had a bunch of support around him, and so I wasn't really that surprised when he said, hey, I'll give it a go for one more year, because it still looked like there was maybe something there. But I definitely agree that looking back on it, it's easy to say that he should have retired after that Super Bowl, but retiring this year was the right move in my opinion.
Well, at least for now, the book is closed on one of the great careers we've ever seen. Meanwhile, in basketball, last Thursday night, USC men's team earned its signature win of the season, taking down 8th-ranked crosstown rival UCLA 77-64 at GALEN Center. Much like the game at Pauley Pavilion earlier in the month, the Trojans found themselves down by double digits at halftime, trailing 37-25. But when the teams returned from the locker room, USC came out on fire. The Trojans ripped off a 27-6 run early in the second period to storm ahead, led by Boogie Ellis. Ellis scored a career-high 31 points, while Drew Peterson contributed another 16s in the offensive explosion, as USC scored a season-best 52 second-half points. Ellis spoke after the win about his mindset on the floor.
I felt like the UCLA game definitely was on me. But it's basketball. You're going to have your highs, you're going to have your lows, but you always got to stay right in the middle. So me and Drew told the guys that we've been in this position before. You know, we're the leaders, so we told them we can't panic. You know, we're going to come out, we're going to hit them in the mouth in the second half. You know, forget what happened in the first half. I'm happy, but you know, there's still more work to do.
This week, the Trojans' focus will shift to the Washington schools, starting with Washington State Cougars on Thursday night. The Cougars are coming off one of their best wins of the year, trouncing Arizona State 75-58. Wazoo hit 14 three-pointers in the effort while protecting the win well with 5 blocked shots. So with a top 10 win now under their belt, have the Trojans solidified as one of the best teams in the conference?
I think so. I mean, they definitely gave themselves some cushion. I think they definitely need to beat the 2 Washington schools this weekend, because after that they take on Eugene, and that proves to be a really difficult feat. So I definitely think if they beat the Washington schools, they'll provide themselves some cushion to give them some cushion in the Eugene game, and then hopefully they can earn their spot in the big dance.
I think it's fair to say that they have solidified themselves as one of the best teams in the Pac-12. I think now the question is for basketball is how consistent are they going to be throughout the season? Because on Thursday we saw in the second half we saw a team that could maybe even make some noise in the NCAA tournament, getting a big win over a top 10 ranked team in UCLA. But we've also seen this team lose to Florida Gulf Coast in their opening game of the season, a loss that never should have occurred. So I think finding consistency is going to be the biggest storyline for basketball as the season continues.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think consistency is everything with this team. That's the reason why I'm not sold on them being the top, the best of the best. I do think they're a team to watch out for, a team to beat, but I think consistency, like you said, is always key.
USC is a tournament team. They are a tournament team now, and it's all because of that win over UCLA. And let's talk about what Boogie Ellis did in that game. Not just the career-high 31 points. This is a guy who, in last year's UCLA game at GALEN Center, really took a backseat to Drew Peterson when his shot wasn't falling. Took a critical offensive foul on an illegal screen in the UCLA game earlier this year. Comes out in front of his home crowd, packed student section at GALEN Center, and absolutely balls out. I mean, he's at his best when he's playing with a sort of energy up and down the floor in the threes and getting to the rim. His moves were electrifying. Every time he had a big shot, he was screaming, going down the court, playing defense, celebrating. He's playing with this sort of swagger right now that I haven't seen, that I've rarely seen before with him at USC. This is the best basketball he's played in a Trojan uniform.
Yeah, I think he's shaping out to be a great leader for the Trojans, and I think with every basketball team, you got to have that guy, and I think he's becoming that guy. He's really taking the steps to do it, and I think if the Trojans have a chance, like we said, with the consistency and everything, I think Boogie needs to be at his best, but not just him, all the other guys on the floor as well.
Also going to talk about the defense, too, in the second half of that UCLA game. I mean, they gave up 27 points, but I don't even think that properly reflected just how good they are. Kept everything in front of them, protected the paint, really adjusted well to that corner three that UCLA was hurting with. They've really come into their own as a great Andy Enfield defensive team, and if they can stick to that identity, watch out.
And Will, you talk about Boogie Ellis and his 27 points. That matched UCLA's entire second half scoring total. And when you bring up the point about the defense, I think what was hurting them in the first half is USC wasn't shooting the ball well on offense, at least the 3 ball, but UCLA was. They were really able to limit UCLA's 3-point makes in the second half because I think they only had 1. So that kind of defense is definitely going to serve them well moving forward.
Yeah, and if we're looking at, like you mentioned, we're looking at the beginning of the season, we didn't have a full roster. Uchukwu was out, so I definitely think now that we have a full roster playing, I think we definitely are going to make some noise coming in March. USC women's basketball takes on Arizona State Thursday. The Trojans will be coming off a hot feat after taking down number 25 Colorado on Sunday. The Trojans brought the heat to chilly Colorado, beating the Buffaloes 71-54. USC's Destiny Littleton led the Trojans, hitting a career high of 6 3-pointers. She ended the game with 21 points. The team also had double-doubles from senior Kadi Sissoko with 18 points and 10 rebounds, and sophomore Rhea Marshall, who had 19 points and 10 rebounds. After taking down another challenging Pac-12 opponent, the women of Troy continued to fight for a spot in the NCAA tournament. The Trojans have a good chance to be dancing in March. If Littleton, Sissoko, and Marshall continue to score efficiently and shoot in the double digits, they'll secure their spot. Now, the Trojans look ahead to host Arizona State. The Sun Devils are coming off an 8-game losing streak. They're averaging just over 66 points per game, with their top scorer, Ty Skinner, averaging more than 18 points a game. She's the player to watch, as she also shoots 34% from deep. So what does this team need to do to secure a win on Friday?
Just basically play to their identity. I mean, Arizona State is absolutely awful. They cannot shoot the basketball at all. They're the worst team in the Pac-12 at shooting percentages. And I don't know what a struggling offense needs to get back on track, but I promise you it's not facing this USC defense. It has been absolutely spectacular all year long. Top 10 in the country in scoring defense, 3-point percentage, blocks per game, field goal percentage defense. All USC has to do is just do what they've done all year on defense, and Arizona State's poor shooting will do the rest.
I would say just not play down to the competition. Like Will just said, Arizona State has been struggling. They aren't very good. And we saw the women of Troy go out and beat Stanford, who at the time, number 2 ranked women's team in the country. So just not playing down to their competition, I think, is going to be the key for this upcoming game.
Yeah, you guys said it. I mean, I was thinking the whole time, it's just the matter of fact of them not playing down to their competition. They are looking so good this year. You know, the women of Troy are really just killing it, basically. They're doing great, and I think as long as they, keep their heads down, and I think this is also a good opportunity for some other members on the team to really show their stuff and show what they can contribute as well. I think this would be a good game to really use that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think they're also looking forward to also making it to the NCAA tournament, which would actually, if both teams made it, would be the first time since 1997 that both the men and women's basketball teams made it to the NCAA tournament.
Something to watch for sure, but the Super Bowl matchup is set for next Sunday in Arizona. The Kansas City Chiefs have advanced to their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 seasons and will face the Philadelphia Eagles, making their first appearance since 2018. The Eagles' path to the big game has been smooth sailing thus far, taking advantage of 2 quarterback injuries, 3 turnovers, and 11 penalties to trounce the San Francisco 49ers 31-7 in the NFC Championship game. So far this postseason, the top-seeded Eagles have outscored their opponents 69-14. In the AFC, Kansas City has had a much more bumpy ride. Patrick Mahomes, playing through a high ankle sprain, threw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, while the Chiefs' defense held the high-powered Bengals' offense in check. The defense sacked Joe Burrow 5 times, aided by an unnecessary roughness penalty. Harrison Butker hit a 45-yard field goal to punch Kansas City's ticket. Now that we know who's facing off, will Mahomes earn his 2nd ring, or will Jalen Hurts get his 1st?
I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. We were talking about Tom Brady earlier. When Tom Brady was in his prime playing in these big games, he was the guy you never bet against. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. He went out and beat the Bengals on one leg, who a team that basically had their way with the Buffalo Bills, and it was a very gutsy performance, and I believe they have so much momentum going into this game. I do respect the Eagles very much, even though their path to the Super Bowl, some could say, a little bit easier than most, but nevertheless, it's still very hard to get all the way to the Super Bowl. I respect them. They're a very good team. I'm just not betting against the Chiefs as long as 15 is at quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. My thoughts exactly. I will never bet against Patrick Mahomes. I will say, though, the Eagles will be a very tough challenge for them, I think. And I worry about Patrick's high ankle sprain. I know he said it's all good, but if you watch the game, there's a lot of times when he was limping to the sideline, and so all it really takes is that one hit. We saw that with Brock Purdy and all the quarterbacks on the 49ers. It just takes one hit. So I will never bet against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are ranked number 1 on offense. The Eagles are number 2, and they have their O-line is much better than we saw in the Bengals when the Chiefs faced them. So I think it'll be a tough match, but again, I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I also take the Chiefs. I just think that the Eagles struggled a little bit in the beginning with the 49ers in the last game when it was 7-7, and the Niners didn't even have their starting quarterback. We had a 49ers had a 4th-string quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a little bit difficult to see the Eagles take the Chiefs when you look at the beginning of that game.
Well, look, let's be honest. In my opinion, pound for pound, the Eagles have the better roster than Kansas City. Quarterback aside, Patrick Mahomes is the very best in the NFL, but the Eagles have an outstanding offensive line, an outstanding defensive line, a great pairing of wide receivers, among a lot of other things. They'll be able to put up a great fight, and that's why they're favored, because they're so talented. But there is an X factor when it comes to the biggest stage, and that is experience, and that is what you had to overcome to get there. And the Eagles' path to the Super Bowl has been Mickey Mouse. Look, the Giants had a great season for that team, but they were not ready to go against a roster of that caliber. They're still rebuilding. The 49ers, when healthy, are a great team, but let's be honest. I mean, when you don't have a quarterback who can throw the ball, yeah, you better win that game if you're Philadelphia. Kansas City knows the grit of an NFL postseason, knows what it's like to go against some of the best teams in the NFL. It's a great win against Kansas City in the championship game. They're just going to be more ready for this game.
I also don't want to downplay Jalen Hurts' ability. I think he's a very dynamic quarterback, and we've seen the Chiefs in the past. You know, sometimes they struggle with, I mean, as simple as getting open tackles in the field. They've done that in the past, and I just think Jalen has real potential to do a lot of hurt to the Chiefs' defense, because I think that has historically been one of their biggest weaknesses.
And I think when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles defense, even though their path has been pretty easy going against the Giants team that was limited at quarterback and a Niners team who simply didn't have a quarterback, let's just call it what it was, I think they still have game-changing players on that defense who will produce no matter who's in front of them. Hassan Reddick was a guy who basically ruined the entire 49ers game plan. He is the one who hit Purdy on that throw that got him knocked out, but he still, regardless, had a great game. Darius, big play Slay at the cornerback position. He's going to make some plays. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Brandon Graham, they have a ton of superstars on that defense.
Yeah, I think if Darius Slay gave up a touchdown to Kenny Galladay, he's going to have a lot of trouble with the Chiefs receiving core. But that's just me. And that's going to wrap it up for our show today. Thanks so much for tuning in. We are right back in the mix for the semester. For everyone here at Annenberg Media, have a great Wednesday.
Better. Yeah.